So, you're a pharmacist trained outside the US, and you've got your sights set on practicing here. Well, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we are going to break down the single most important exam on your journey, the FPGEE. So, let's be real. Your goal is simple, right? You want to practice pharmacy here, in the United States. You've put in the years, you've got the experience, and now you want to bring those skills over. It's an awesome goal, and believe me, it all starts with a very specific path. And that path, it really begins with one single crucial gateway. This exam, it's the thing that's designed to validate all your hard work and officially recognize what you know in the US. Think of it as the first major hurdle you need to clear to make that dream a reality. Okay, so what is this thing anyway? What is the FPGE? Let's dive in and get to the bottom of what it is and why it is so important for your career. All right, so FPGE stands for the Foreign Pharmacy Graduate Equivalency Examination. That's a mouthful, I know. It's run by the National Association of Boards of Pharmacy, or NABP for short. And you should really just think of it as the great equalizer. Its whole job, its entire purpose, is to make sure that the pharmacy education you got is on par with a degree from an accredited U.S. pharmacy school. Simple as that. And let's be super clear about this. This is not optional. Passing the FPGEE is an absolutely mandatory step to get your FPGEC certification. That's the Foreign Pharmacy Graduate Examination Committee certification. That certification is the key that opens the door for you to even apply for state licensure. So yeah, this step is 100% non-negotiable. You have to do it.
All right, so we know why the exam is so important. Now for the big question, what's actually on it? Let's pull back the curtain and take a look at the blueprint of the test itself.
Okay, on the big day, you are going to be staring down 200 questions. And listen, it's not just your standard pick A, B, C, or D. They mix it up with different formats, like multiple response questions or even hotspot questions, where you literally have to click on part of an image. So what does that mean for you? It means your prep has to be about more than just knowing the material. You've got to get comfortable with how they're going to ask you about it. And you'll have 4.5 hours to get through all 200 of those questions. If you do the math, that's just a little over a minute per question. This is a marathon, for sure, not a sprint. Your ability to manage that clock, just as important as what you know. Now this slide right here, this is basically your study guide. Look at this breakdown. You've got clinical sciences at 35% and pharmaceutical sciences at 33%. Add those up, that is over 2/3 of the entire exam. This is a giant flashing sign telling you exactly where you need to focus most of your energy. It's all about the practical side of pharmacy. Okay, now listen up, because this next rule is a big one, and you cannot afford to forget it. The FPGE is what's called a fixed form exam. What does that mean? It means you have to answer every single question in the order it's given. You can't skip a tough one and think, oh, I'll come back to it later. Nope. Once you hit submit on an answer, that's it. It's locked in. You absolutely have to build your test-taking strategy around this. So you know what's on the exam, you know the rules, but can you even take it? Let's talk about eligibility, because before you can even think about scheduling your test, you've got to prove you're ready. It all boils down to these 3 pillars of eligibility. You've got to show proof of your education, prove you have a license to practice back home, and of course, show your proficiency in English. All 3 are total must-haves. Now, you're going to want to pay close attention right here, because the date you graduated is super important. There's this cutoff in 2003, and it's there because U.S. pharmacy education standards changed around then. So here's the deal. If you graduated before January 1st, 2003, you need a 4-year curriculum. But if you graduated on or after that date, you've got to have a 5-year program. It seems like a tiny detail, but it could literally make or break your eligibility. Okay. So you're eligible. You've studied the blueprint. Awesome. Now, let's fast forward to the big day itself. We need to talk about the rules of the road because this is a high-stakes situation. And here is a piece of info that is absolutely critical for your planning. The FPGE is only offered once a year, one time, usually in October. So unlike a lot of other exams, you can't just take it whenever you feel like you're ready. This puts a ton of pressure on that one day, so you really have to make it count. So what's the magic number you're aiming for? It's 75. Now, the exam is scored on this weird scale from 1 to 150, but all you need to remember is that a scaled score of 75 is what you need to pass. Keep that number front and center in your mind. That's the score that keeps this whole train moving.
And this is really important to know. You don't get unlimited shots at this. You have a lifetime maximum of just five attempts to pass the FPGE. If you fail a fifth time, that's it. This specific path to getting a U.S. license is closed to you for good. The stakes really couldn't be higher.
On top of the pressure of that 5-try limit, there's also a pretty clear financial reason to pass on your first attempt. Just look at the slide. The fee to retake the exam jumps up quite a bit from the initial cost. So yeah, it literally pays to be as prepared as you possibly can be right from the get-go.
Okay, so what happens after all that stress? After you've clicked that final submit button, and weeks later, you get that amazing news that you passed. Let's talk about the reward and, of course, what comes next.
You have to remember, passing the FPGE isn't the finish line, not quite. Think of it as the key that unlocks the next major phase. With that passing score in your pocket, you can now move on to complete the rest of the requirements for your full FPGEE ECE certification. But don't take your foot off the gas just yet. Your passing score is only valid for 5 years. That means you have to complete your FPGEE ECE certification within that 5-year window. If you don't, you'll have to go all the way back to square one and retake the entire exam. The clock officially starts ticking the day you pass. Look, the FPGE is way more than just another test. It's a test of what you know, sure, but it's also a test of your endurance and your commitment. It's tough, no doubt about it, but it's also a very clearly defined path. And when you pass, you don't just get a number on a piece of paper. You get validation for all your hard work, and you take one giant leap towards your goal of practicing pharmacy in the U.S. The path is all laid out for you, so the only question left is, are you ready to take that next step?